Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/OhNoConsequences. As per usual, I'll be reading you the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. We've got another best of that fits the OhNoConsequences category. That's gathered by me. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is KimmyCat88, posted to r/assistance July 25th, 2023. A customer bounced a $400 check to my small business and then told me to suck his dick when I called him about it. I can't afford small claims. Please offer advice. I'm desperate. As the title says, a real jerk came into my flower store. He very rudely ordered 12 custom flower bowls be made for him. I made him his order and he picked it up. At the time of pickup, he was very hesitant to write me the check. He wanted to order more and then come back with one big check. I said no. Check now, please. He signed his name and tossed it to me. I had to write in the dollar amount. Now the check is bouncing. I have been by his bank every day for 2 weeks to attempt a cashier check, but he doesn't have the funds in the account. I think he uses this checkbook for this exact reason. The check was number 3 from the book. Does anyone have any advice? I'm crying myself to sleep thinking about this. I can't afford to open a court case. My current ideas are putting David Aram writes bad checks on my road sign next to a major road in town, calling his employer, anything else that is legal. I'm about to drive the neighborhood and look for my flowers. Also, through Google search, I see he was awarded $20,000 in PPP loans 2 years ago. Can I do anything with that? Please help me get this man. I just want to grow my flowers. Sad face. Update. The police just left the greenhouse. They collected the paperwork I have for the whole mess. When the officer looked at the name of the guy, he said, "Oh no, please don't drop the charges on this one. I want to see it go through." And then he sat in his squad car for a few minutes and made a bunch of phone calls. Shrug emoji? That's a good sign. Relevant comments. Small claims court usually is not more than $50 to open a complaint. You'll win, but you'll also learn one is much different than collected. You may not be able to collect anything. File a report with the police and at the bank. Learn to not accept a check from a new account. Accept credit cards or preferably cash. Don't start stalking someone. You don't know this guy's name for certain. Even if you read off his driver's license, it could be faked. OP responds, "That is good to know. File a report with the police and with his bank. Got it. I'll be doing that when they open." I don't know how to file with small claims, but this is a good opportunity for a crash course. I'm upset about the money, but at this point, I'm just so mad that a grown, successful man can walk around with his chest out, all while stomping on me, a young girl who is barely standing up. He drives a dozen different SUVs, and because of him, I'm working every shift this week. Unable to pay my employee. User Casil responds, "He's an abuser with an ego, and he's not doing as well as you are, but make sure that fact is hidden under his brashness and chest-outness." Let us help you out a little. If you're willing to give out your shop name, perhaps some of us can buy a few flowers and leave a tip. In the meantime, report. Make sure to have a shame list with names of past customers who have screwed you, even if they end up paying. Actions have consequences. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. So let yourself remind yourself and your employee that that man should never get farther than showing his ID before he's run off. Also, never accept checks. Tons of other ways to pay nowadays. Even businesses will find a way. For example, my business can do bank-to-bank transfers, PayPal, credit card, and we can do business checks, but prefer the other 3. Opie responds, "Oh my gosh, thank you for being understanding. These comments have made me feeling extra stupid for learning this lesson. And thank you for the offer on spreading my business. My greenhouse is attached to my home and my retail gazebo is in my front field. I think I'm done learning hard lessons today, so I'm not going to post my home address on Reddit. But thank you again." Update, July 27th, 2023. Update on the guy who wrote me a bad check. He has paid in full. Thank you everyone who encouraged me to fight for my money. I filed a police report. The cop came out to my store, and when I handed him the information I had on the guy, he chuckled and said, "Oh, this guy. If you want to open a report, that's fine and he deserves it, but he always comes running when we call him." And sure enough, he showed up an hour after the police had left him a message. He said I had no right involving the police and it was so far out of line that I needed to appease him somehow, with a discount on more flowers. He then demanded I call the officer while he was there so he could see me drop the report. I told him our business is done and stood my ground. It was great. He left, and it honestly felt like it was the first time he hadn't gotten his way in a long time. Final comments. Deleted user. That's awesome. Now put his picture at the register and a sign that says, refuse service, bad checks, theft. Face it where everyone can see to the register. Include his name. It won't be illegal. P.S. I hope your business grows as big as you want it. You deserve it. OP responds, I told the cop I'd been planning to put David writes bad checks on my street sign. The cop laughed and said that even after David pays, I should still put that on my sign because it's still true. Made me feel good. Honestly, what I would have done in that instance is if he demanded that I call a cop and drop the report, just be like, yeah, hi officer, yeah, he's currently at my flower shop trying to intimidate me to drop the police report. Oh, you'll be down right in a moment? Awesome. Fuck you, David. You had no right involving the police over the things that I stole. God, are you for real? By the sounds of it, David has been doing this for a long time, and he's probably gotten away with people dropping the police reports numerous times. And the officer probably finally wanted him to get his comeuppance. The fucking audacity of David to write a check that bounced and then in the process of them worrying about not being able to pay their employee, has the audacity to go, hey, you have no right to file a police report because I stole from you. You should give me a discount. You already fucking stole from me, dude. I bet you enjoy these consequences. This is a best of that I found that fits OhNoConsequences that I thought that I would, drag from the depths of hell and provide for you guys. Like a raccoon showing his treasures. At this point, for the past, almost 6 months, most of the posts on these videos are ones that I've collected myself. Maybe I'll do something about that this week. This post was collected by Too Hot Too Heavy. The original OP is Whoop23, posted at r/legal advice February 6th, 2019. My son stole a rare toy from my brother. My brother is refusing to take it back and is threatening to get the police involved. What do I do? Right now, my brother is threatening to sue me for my son taking a figure from his collection and get the police involved. Here is the story. Last week, my brother invited me and my family over for dinner. While we were there, my son asked to see my brother's collection of toys and figures. My brother has spent a good deal of money on his collection, and from what I know, it's one of his biggest hobbies. Well, after dinner we left and everything seemed normal. Well, until yesterday. My brother called me up furiously and told me my little shit stole something from his collection and I needed to return it immediately. I honestly was upset at this, but if my son had taken something, that was wrong, especially if it was from my own brother. Well, it turns out that my son slipped away during dinner and took a Boba Fett figure from his collection. He confirmed it because he has footage from his porch camera of him taking it out to our car. I was furious and took it from him. Here's the problem though. After I confirmed with my brother it was his, I found out my son had removed it from its packaging. Apparently, the figure is worth almost $2,000 in its packaging and almost nothing out of it. So my brother broke down over the phone and refused to take it back before hanging up. Well, he just called me again today and said he wanted me to pay for a replacement immediately or he will get the police involved and sue me. I told him I would help pay for one, but not fully, to which he said, not good enough, and hung up. Honestly, what are my options here? I can't afford to pay him back right now. If he does go to the police, will my son get arrested? He's only 15? I was thinking he was 7. It was very wrong of him to do, but I think my brother is overreacting. What can I expect if he does take me to court or call the police? A relevant comment that I fished from the depths of hell. Not really, it was just below. User CopperJohn24 comments, while first reading I assumed you were talking about an actual kid, not a 15-year-old. Yes, your son can be arrested and yes, could be liable for the $2,000. Why do you think your brother is overreacting? Would you feel any different had your son stole $2,000 cash? OP responds, I completely understand why he's mad. His property was stolen, but we're family, and I think it's a little overboard to threaten to call the police on your nephew. Update, my son took the Boba Fett figure the 8th of February 2019. So, I never honestly expected the post I made to get where it did. I also never expected the barrage of support and hate. I will say these past 48 hours have been a ride, and that post has not helped in any way. So, why am I back? Well, because I feel like I need to be. I'm not here to give some apology to a bunch of internet strangers for how I acted or seek validation. I'm here because I feel that, for myself, I need to admit my own wrongdoings and move on to a better place. It only just now clicked with me that so many people treat Reddit as though it's some kind of confessional and it absolves them of all wrongdoing if they type it out. So I wanted to talk about something first before I get into the update. Many people who responded talked about how me or my brother in a bad light and how I reacted in the comments. It didn't help the situation. I was also hit pretty hard for how I was not taking my brother into consideration when talking about the issue. To give you some context for this, me and my brother have never had a good relationship. We have never seen eye to eye, and after our father's death, he cut contact with me for a good amount of time. We're just too different in some senses. He's a single nerdy guy who has no aspiration for family, while I'm the exact opposite. In these past few years, we've tried to fix this, work as adults to bring what little family we have back together. During our time apart, he began collecting old nerdy things, and I won't lie, I never understood the appeal. It is his life though, and he can do what he wants. So when my son stole and damaged his property, I didn't see how it was valuable to him and discounted it. So when he asked for $2,000 to fix it, I really didn't feel like it was worth it. Was this wrong of me? Maybe. I don't feel bad about defending my son. I only feel bad that I discounted my brother in the process. Sorry about that. Like I said, I don't want sympathy. I only wrote that out to allow myself to be true about the situation. Back to the update. So after all was said and done, my family had pretty much been thrown into chaos. I had no idea what I was going to do after talking with my wife. We decided we would take many of your advice and have my son pay him back. We collected all the non-essentials he had and planned to sell them to raise funds. During this time, I got back into contact with my brother and wanted to talk this out to make sure this did not end badly. I offered to pay in full. Also, some people in the comments said that the figure was worth less, so I asked him. He had it professionally valued a few months ago when he bought it, and it was worth a total of $2,200. My brother said he plans to not sue us. His renter's insurance apparently is willing to pay him the value he has listed, but he would need to file a police report to get it. At first, we agreed not to go that route and simply pay him the value of it or one for a replacement if he could get it cheaper. This was the plan until last night. During the process of taking his things away, my wife found a conversation he had with a friend he has over the internet. It turns out my son stole the figure to sell it. He had Googled it while we were at my brother's house and found out how much it was worth and bragged to a friend that he was going to sell it at a pawn shop. He didn't realize that taking it out of the package would ruin it, so he ripped it out to hide it in the car better. Suffice to say, I am not happy about this. I won't elaborate on this very much more, but me and my wife have decided that what is best for all of us is that we let him face the consequences of this. My brother is going to file a police report and collect money from insurance. Some may say this is a bit harsh, but honestly, I think this might be for the best in the end. The way my son actively stole from family to make a profit worries me, and I believe the only option that I can live with myself making is this. I will stand by my son till the end, but he needs to learn now before he is an adult. So thank you all for the advice. The support and hate are what I needed as a true wake-up call. Like I said, I don't need pity. I'm doing this so that I can be true to myself and maybe become a better parent in the end. I'm glad your son is facing the full consequences for his actions, and it definitely sucks he did this purposefully to sell the figure and was an idiot and didn't realize that the packaging is what adds the value. But it also sucks that you were incredibly combative and decided not to take this seriously until police were potentially going to get involved or until people informed you that, no, the figure is in fact worth this amount and you're kind of being an asshole here and you should be responsible for the actions of your child. 15 or 5. I mean, hell, one of the comments in the original thread that OP posted breaks down to, "I can't afford the $2,000. That's why I offered a partial payment to help him get a new one. My son is not smart, yes. He probably opened it to try to hide it better. And believe me, he will be punished. But I just don't see why we need to get the police or government involved. It's a family issue more than a legal one. Your son committed grand theft, by the way. Like, I know you're okay with the police report now, but the thing is, even before you found out he did it on purpose, he still committed the crime. And you didn't take it seriously at all until you found out it was done with malice, which kinda sucks." Cross-posted from r/true off my chest. I cheated on my girlfriend and received the worst karma for it. I emotionally cheated for about 3 months with a coworker and sent texts every night back and forth with her. I also cheated with another girl I knew and had sex a few times. I grew tired of my girlfriend over the past year and was avoidant on breaking up because I felt she was too safe. She found out about the coworker a day before my birthday when she went through my phone. I have never heard someone cry like that. I had a birthday party the next day, but it was half full because the news came out and everyone saw me as Satan himself, which I don't blame him for. The girl I cheated with came and broke up with her boyfriend that day to be with me. I rode the high and went with it. We have a whirlwind romance and things finally simmer down. I find out she's addicted to a gas station drug called 7-O and is a crazy drug addict. She's asking me for money every day, and I am the only person she has. She's also one of the few people I have at this point. Many nights I lay in bed with her, she's tossing and turning from withdrawals, and I am on my phone, looking at stories and updates of all my friends with my ex, having the time of their lives, and slowly being blocked and unfollowed one by one. I broke up with this girl because I finally snapped out of my mania and feel the most alone I felt. I go on Hinge dates a few weeks a night and have meaningless sex. I miss my old life, but everyone sees me as a monster. I regret everything fully and wish I could go back so bad. You didn't break out of your mania, dude. You just realized you ate the Nature Valley granola bar in your bed and you don't like the crumbs being in it. You tossed your entire life away to hook up with someone who's hooked on gas station morphine. I don't know what to tell you, bud. Actually, the fact that that's even legal is extremely disappointing, and surprise, surprise, the FDA is only taking steps to restrict it. Oh, thank you. Oh, restrictions, not an outright ban on gas station morphine. Oh, thank you. Please stay away from these substances. They completely destroy your brain's receptors, and it's just not good for you. Also, buddy, I don't know what to tell you. You cheated on your girlfriend with 2 girls, you got caught right before your birthday, and now everyone is living their best life without you. Sounds like you're kind of the problem here, bud. Go on a growing journey. Do better. Be better. But, like, these are your consequences. I don't know what to tell you. Another one that I've collected by hand. Solaraco, and their tagline is, "Gotta read 'em all." The original OP is Dangerous Calendar 960, posted r/that's in German. I'm not going to even attempt to read that. The posts are translated from German to English, posted September 20th, 2024. Ratschlag. Coworker shares private information about me in a meeting. Hey everyone, I, female 27, really need your advice on how to handle this situation. I work an office job, and next to me sits the executive assistant, female 61. We don't get along well because she treats me like her daughter. I notice it every time it happens and ask her to stop, but she doesn't. Today, we were in a tense meeting discussing a sensitive topic for the company. The atmosphere was already strained among the 8 participants. At some point, our boss suggested taking a break or calling it a day. I agreed that ending the meeting might be the better option. The assistant then looked at me weirdly and, in a very aggressive tone, said, "Well, you sure know a lot about termination." Shh. What the fuck? Well, you sure know a lot about terminations. There was a brief, awkward silence before she immediately added, "Because she had an abortion." I was completely stunned and had no idea how to react. My colleagues were just as shocked. I just wished everyone a nice weekend, left the room, and went home early. It's true that I had an abortion this year, but I had no idea how she found out. Only 2 people in my life know about it, and she doesn't know either of them. Regardless, I find it absolutely unacceptable to bring something like that up, especially in a professional setting, whether it's relevant to the discussion or not. Now I'm wondering what steps I can take. We don't have a workers' council. Our HR representative is based at another location and is currently on extended sick leave. Our boss sees these kinds of conflicts as personal issues that should be resolved between the individuals involved. I plan to confront the assistant on Monday. Could there be legal consequences for her, or do I just have to accept this and move on? I'd really appreciate any advice. Thanks in advance. Update. Same post, same day. I have an appointment with a lawyer first thing Monday morning. Since we only need a sick note from the 3rd day of absence, I'll be calling in sick on Monday and discussing the next steps with the lawyer. I've also found the contact details of the data protection officer at the clinic, but I'll wait until after my lawyer appointment to proceed with that. I really appreciate all of your support. The idea that sensitive data might have been leaked from the clinic didn't occur to me on my own, and I haven't even considered it before. You've all opened up a lot of options for me that I'll discuss with the lawyer on Monday. Thank you for that. Update. First of all, thank you all for the helpful responses. I'll try to reply to as many as I can. After a thorough search online, I found out that the partner of the boss's son actually works the clinic where I had the procedure. I strongly suspect that this is how the assistant got a hold of the information, as she regularly attends family events and birthdays of the boss's family. This seems to be the most likely explanation for how she found out. Update, same post, September 26th, 2024. Hello everyone, here's the promised update, smiley face. On Monday, I had a meeting with a lawyer, and it was definitely worth it. During the meeting with the lawyer, my boss called me and asked me to come to the office for a clarifying conversation. After discussing with my lawyer, I went to the office to have the conversation. The assistant greeted me in tears and insisted it wasn't meant like that. I took my favorite colleague with me as a witness/support, and we entered the meeting. Given the sensitive nature of the topic, I asked for a minute to be taken, which everyone agreed to. In the conversation, my boss explained that such behavior between colleagues would not be tolerated, and the assistant had to apologize and promise that it wouldn't happen again. I then asked what consequences would follow, to which he seemed confused and asked if I even wanted consequences since an apology was given. Naturally, I demanded consequences for the assistant and clarification about the data leak. I also told the boss that it was outrageous that he was asking if I wanted consequences instead of implementing them himself, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as spreading private information. He became a bit grumpy but explained that it wasn't a data leak and that he had just slipped up. When I asked where he got this information from, he bluntly admitted that he had learned about it through his daughter-in-law. He even followed up with, "But you couldn't even tell you had the procedure." Oh my god. I seriously thought I was going to flip out in that room, but fortunately, I managed to stay composed. I asked for confirmation of his statements to make sure everything was understood correctly, and then had everyone sign the protocol. I got up, wished everyone a nice day, and informed him that my lawyer would be contacting him, and we'd go from there. One of the 6 colleagues who was in the meeting on Friday approached me afterward, apologized for not saying anything in the moment, and wished me luck, strength, and that someone would react better than he did if something like this happened again. I really appreciated that. 3 days later, here's where we stand. The assistant received her 3rd warning. I don't know where the first 2 came from. Today, I received confirmation that she has to leave the company. I think my boss would have preferred not to make this decision, but since the situation spread very quickly through the office grapevine, it seems to have influenced his decision. As for the clinic, the first contact was made through my lawyer. I didn't personally call or inform the data protection officer. The lawyer took care of all of that. The lady at the clinic no longer works there, as the lead doctor seems to be aware of the risks. He apologized both over the phone and in writing, and I'll be receiving a nice compensation. And with my employer, we were able to agree on a very nice severance package, and the termination of my employment is happening soon. These are all nice solutions, but there are still civil and criminal proceedings ongoing, which I can't discuss right now. The lawyer is motivated to bring further consequences, especially regarding GDPR violations. All I can say is, don't tolerate this kind of treatment. Last Friday, I was completely overwhelmed and unsure how to handle it, but I received so much support and perspective, especially here on Reddit, that I was able to navigate the situation and seek help. Thanks for reading all the way through and for all the responses and comments. Good on OP for standing 10 toes down and just deciding to swing back. Good shit. Also, just out of curiosity, and maybe someone who speaks other languages than just English, I can't even say that I speak English, I just speak it partially. I don't even have a first language. I just cobble words together and hope they sound right. You guys know that for a fact. But my main point is, despite self-immolation, is when it comes to other languages on Reddit for those of you that speak it, is the kind of community different, or do the same kinds of people end up surfacing their heads? Do we see the same kind of smug attitude Reddit behavior, or is it actually civilized with other communities and other languages on Reddit? Also, a GDPR violation, I just googled it, it's either 20 million euros or 4% of the global annual turnover, whichever one is higher. God damn. Why can't America do fines like that? Again, another one that I snagged for you all. This post was collected by Kitten Dealin' Mama. Their tagline is, well, more of just accolade, Elite 2K Best of Redditor Updates Club. The original OP is Hopeful Picture 586, posted on r/Am I the Asshole June 1st, 2022. Am I the asshole for refusing to go to my daughter's graduation ceremony? I, 40s female, have a daughter, 18 female, who I'll call Bev. When she was younger, her father, broke up before she was born, was very involved in her life, and she was admittedly a dad's girl, but this all changed when she turned 8 and he got married. He barely called and just abandoned her for his new family. This was obviously hard on her and she rebelled a lot, but she went to therapy and seemed good. She's been in therapy for the past 10 years. She still goes. Bev has not seen him since she was 12, and he speaks to her maybe 3 times a year maximum. When he calls, she believes he's now back in her life for good. Then he ghosts her for the remainder of the year. This being said, Bev and I have a great relationship. We do everything together. She even refers to me as her best friend, so I'd say we have a good relationship. Recently was her graduation, and I was excited, but then she came to me a week before and told me she's going to invite her dad and his son, and 'cause her dad doesn't want to see me, I can't come. Bev told me that was the only way he was gonna go. I angrily told her I felt betrayed and won't forgive her for this. She just told me I've been there for many of her milestones and she wants her father to experience some too. Things got heated and we argued. The night before her graduation, I pleaded with her, but she ignored me when I spoke, and only said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not changing my mind." I left and cried until my sister offered to take me out during the graduation to take my mind off of it, and I agreed. I woke up the next morning to my daughter bawling her eyes out. I looked at the time and realized the ceremony starts in 5 minutes. I asked Bev why she hadn't left yet. Bev then tells me her father ditched her and isn't answering anymore. I hugged her and told her to make the most of her graduation. She looked shocked and asked if I'm not going to the ceremony now her father isn't anymore. She continued about how it'll be embarrassing to be the only one there without parents. I told her I'm sorry that I already had plans. She then screamed and called me a bad mom. I apologized once again and got ready to meet my sister. I chose not to go because I felt betrayed and wanted to teach her actions have consequences, even if it broke me that I didn't go. Since Bev returned, she hasn't spoken a word to me, and she looks depressed and like she's been crying for ages. I'm starting to regret not going. My sister says I did the right thing, but one of the moms at my daughter's school said she was depressed at graduation, and now I feel bad that I ruined what was supposed to be a day to remember because I wanted to teach my daughter a lesson. So am I the asshole? She had the tickets, and I can only enter with tickets, and she was obviously not going to give them to me. I would not have minded going with her father, actually. I even proposed that, but she said no. Honestly, we broke up on good terms. I haven't spoken to him in years, though, and when I have seen their messages, it's always small talk and nothing about me. So I don't know where this came from. I respected her decision and didn't go. She didn't console me, even when I've done it for her countless times when her dad ditched her. She takes me for granted as she knows I'll always be there for her. She knew how much I was excited for her graduation. I was speaking about it a year before her senior year, yet she uninvited me so callously. I've taught her that her real family will be there to support her, even when they're disappointed in her choices, millions of times over the past 10 years. I've dropped everything to console her. And it wasn't just that she uninvited me. She did it in a way that was so callous. How long am I going to have to wait till she learns that lesson? I have supported her whole life. Every time she ignores my advice when I tell her to not fall for his tricks, I beg her to leave him alone. And every time she chooses the possibility of him over her own mother who is there 24/7 for her. And for her to not invite me to her graduation even when I cried, the way I see it, actions have consequences. I wasn't going to set a precedent that she can treat me like shit and abandon me because she feels like it. Parents are humans too, and as much as we selflessly do things for our children, let's not kid ourselves and say it's not nice to be appreciated. For the past 10 years, I have not been appreciated, and instead have been tossed aside 24/7 for a father who abandons her. Parents need love too. All these comments are acting like we're robots that cannot feel emotions ever. This is the first time I ever said no to her. For 18 years, I have done everything I could to make sure she doesn't feel abandoned, like her father, and she just ditches me. I know parenting is selfless, but I want to feel appreciated. And I'm always second choice to a man that doesn't appreciate her. Thank you for understanding. Update. Update posted 6 hours later. I don't think I'm a bad mom for this one thing, and I accept the judgments and read everything. To answer your question, Bev does go to therapy. This isn't the first time Bev has ditched me for her dad. She's been doing it for 10 years. This is the first time I have said no to her after her father abandoned her. I have asked her therapist if Bev is being manipulated, and she said no based on Bev and her father's messages, and my daughter is just grasping onto a reality that isn't there. Update. I went to my daughter and apologized for not going to her graduation. I also explained that it's not a nice feeling to be left out and I feel underappreciated. Also, that is fine to want her father there for her, but I should too. Bev told me that she's sorry things ended this way and that she loves me, hugged me, and wants things to go back to normal and that she acted like a bitch. I told her, nevertheless, I should have been there, and if I could do this all over again, I would have gone. Honestly, I said this as I thought she now knew her dad can't be trusted, and I felt for her. Then I asked her if she regretted uninviting me in the first place, and unsurprisingly, she said no. This hurt me, but I figured it was because I didn't go, so it was understandable. But no, she continued saying that it was probably best I didn't go because she would have been more miserable as she would have preferred her dad to be there anyway. Then I got pissed. I didn't show it. I told her my feelings were hurt, especially since I've been there for her. She said that she's always going to want her dad there for her big moments. I asked, even at the expense of me, and knowing he most likely won't show? And she replied, I mean, if I have to make sacrifices, I'm going to have my dad there. I repeated the question as she seemed to be swerving it, but she just shrugged and went on her phone. I told her not to expect everyone to apologize and turn a blind eye when she doesn't value them in the real world. And I also said, knowing how she feels, don't expect another apology from me, and this is the last time I'm doing this. She looked teary-eyed, but I left. She was not angry when we had this conversation, and I know my daughter enough to know when she's being insincere. And she hugged and kissed before saying this, but it's fine. I know I'll have to accept this is how it's going to be. I don't know how other parents do this. I know her father is going to keep abandoning her, and honestly, I'm at my limit. And if I didn't know whether I was wrong or not before, I definitely know I was right in not going. I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash saying this, but I'm bitter and angry. I understand wanting her dad there, but I should be on the same level of importance as him. I'm still going to be there for her when he inevitably ditches her again, but if this behavior carries on to her next graduation or wedding day, I can't say I'll be that apologetic to her. I should have just listened to not the asshole. New update. 4 months later. I'm sure no one asked for this update, but here it goes. I'm going to refer to Bev's father as Fred. For the past few months, I've done a lot of reflection. Although I can't say I regret not going to Bev's graduation ceremony, I do wish I handled the situation more like an adult. Growing up, I was taught never to ask questions I don't want the answer to, and that is exactly what I did with my daughter. I shouldn't have asked if she regretted uninviting me because, truthfully, I didn't want to hear the answer. And for that, I think I acted childish. To clear up some misconception, I don't speak to Bev's father simply because he refuses to be cooperative. Also, when I said Bev referred to me as her best friend, this doesn't mean I treat her like my equal. I do parent her. She did get grounded and got her phone taken away when she misbehaved at school, etc., which is rarely. I think she calls me that because she feels comfortable to talk to me about everything. And now, to the update. There was an incident after, where Bev wanted her dad's help in moving her into her college apartment before the term started, but he refused because he had work. She begged for weeks. The whole 3-hour ride to her college was her crying hysterically. My sister consoled her, but if I'm being honest, I was pissed. Pissed at my daughter as she refuses to go to therapy anymore. But seriously pissed at my ex. It took me ages after graduation, but I finally got in contact with Fred's aunt. I explained the situation and that I needed to get into contact with him as he's either ignoring or not getting my messages. He ended up sending me a very long letter. In a small nutshell, it said that my daughter has been stalking and threatening him and his family, and he's been trying to have a healthy relationship with her, but she keeps being aggressive, so he had to distance himself. He acknowledges he hasn't been the best father, but he tried for the past few years, and Bev is too aggressive, so he had to put the safety of his family first. As for the graduation, he wrote that he definitely refused to go, and only said it was probably for the best, as I probably wouldn't feel too comfortable with him there. He said not to contact him again, and that we've done enough damage. He added photocopies of messages between him and Bev where she says deeply troubling things, like physical threats. Personally, I thought everything he said was bullshit and misconstrued. I spoke to Bev and told her of her father's accusations. She broke down in tears, hysterically, and admitted that she hasn't been the nicest to Fred's wife and child, understandably, but she never threatened and stalked them. I was trying to calm her down. I told her I believe her and suggested therapy. Then, she turned on me, blaming me for the breakdown between her and her father's relationship. She swore at me and broke stuff. She told me to stop trying to villainize her father when I'm the problem. She called me a burden and cancer and said I should have stayed out of her business. I was called a bad mother and told I should burn in hell. To be clear, she was never violent towards me. She packed her stuff and left, presumably back to college. Me or my family haven't heard from her since. I called and called, but only got one message from a random number telling me to leave her alone. I told her I'm always here when she's ready to talk. It's been 2+ months since I spoke to her. I'll never admit to this to anyone, but honestly, I feel relieved. My self-esteem plummeted, and I felt dead for the longest time because of the situation. I'm going to therapy and feel the tiniest bit better. I finally went on a date yesterday, and for the first time in a decade, without being guilted. In hindsight, mine and Bev's relationship were nowhere near perfect. I don't know what more I could have done, but I wish I did more. She's my child and was a victim of an overall shit situation. Sorry for the long update. Honestly, I have no idea what to believe here. Is the father telling the truth, or is he taking things out of context? Is Bev manipulating messages when showing them to her mother and the therapist to create one narrative, while in reality she's kind of being extremely unstable? Her reaction doesn't help either. Is her lashing out because she's being accused by the person that she really wants in her life of being some crazed stalker, or is she lashing out because she's being caught? And unfortunately, we'll never get the answer for this. I also don't blame the mom for having these emotions, especially with Bev being so unremorseful. Like, yeah, you've pretty much been there for me for my entire life, and rather than sharing the accomplishments that we worked on together, and you being there for graduation, the guy that's always been flaky as fuck, that's who I want to share my early life accomplishment with. Like, yeah, that fucking sucks. And it also sucks to pretty much be the runner-up. And honestly, this post actually kind of scares me because, like, a massive fear of mine is that I try to do everything right, but no matter what, I still end up becoming the villain in my child's eye, or I still fail them in some way and cause them to stray down the wrong path, and no one wants that for their kid. No one wants to be in that position in life, and I certainly feel for OP in this post and how difficult and heartbreaking this would have been to go through. To be so unappreciated. Like, goddamn. This one was posted to OhNoConsequences and cross-posted from Best Of. This post was collected by Lucy Aria Rose, and her tagline is, "I'm keeping the garlic." The original OP is Potential Low 8645, posted to r/amItheasshole, January 27th, 2025. Am I the asshole for giving crappy Christmas gifts and ruining my marriage? And just in case this one may have been covered before, this one has new updates going all the way until May. Throwaway account for anonymity. I, 31 female, married my soon-to-be ex-husband, male 33, in 2018. My in-laws never liked me and made it clear. Soon-to-be ex insisted that they're just putting up a tough exterior and they'll grow to love me. To show how evil they are, one time I joined them for dinner and brought a cake I'd made, because I was always raised to be a gracious guest. When I stepped into the kitchen and offered the cake to his mother as a thank you for inviting me, she took the plate over to the garbage bin, dumped it in, and handed me the plate back. When I told my husband what she did, he confronted her, and all of a sudden, the crocodile tears started and she claimed she grabbed the plate but didn't get a good grip. I let go too quickly and it fell to the floor, so of course it had to be thrown away. My sister-in-law confirmed that was what happened. My soon-to-be ex owned his own business, and they called me a gold digger behind his back. Of course, they insisted on a prenup, which I didn't care about because I never thought my marriage would end, and it would appease them and may allow them to finally treat me kindly. Nope. His business failed once COVID hit. We went through his savings and my own to keep it afloat. I refused to go into debt to keep it going, so he closed it down. In 2022, he was suffering from really bad depression because he lost his business and couldn't find new work. He suggested we move to his hometown, closer to his family, so he had a larger support network. Against my better judgment, we did. He wanted to only work part-time while he tried to restart his business, so I became the main breadwinner. And, as with most wives, I became the person in charge of buying gifts. Stupid old me thought buying them thoughtful, expensive gifts would finally make them see I wanted to be accepted by them. Gifts to us were a couple's gift, but clearly for my soon-to-be ex only. Every holiday was spent with them, monthly dinners with the whole family. After a year, I realized that if I ever tried to talk or join a conversation, everyone would go quiet. So I just stopped talking when I visited. In early December, they finalized plans for Christmas. A few days later, my soon-to-be ex said his family decided they didn't want me to join them for Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas lunch because I ruined the family vibe. I replied, "Fine, we'll do our own thing instead." My soon-to-be ex sheepishly looked away and said he was still going to go. I was livid and so disappointed in him. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over. So I returned the presents I had bought for his family. In their place, I got one pair of novelty business socks for father-in-law, a supermarket brand bottle of shampoo for mother-in-law, and the nastiest perfume I could find at the dollar store for sister-in-law. The most expensive gift was a large rawhide bone for brother-in-law and his wife's chihuahua, too big for it to get its jaw around, rendering it useless. I saved about $600 to put on a deposit for a new apartment. My husband came home from Christmas lunch telling me I humiliated him and embarrassed him in front of his family. I asked him why would he think I'd buy nice gifts for people who clearly don't like me and don't want me around. Served divorce papers last week. Remember how he was supposed to be a millionaire by now, so we had that prenup? Soon-to-be ex is not eligible for any of my savings. It was required to keep separate accounts for alimony. He doesn't have any money for rent and auto insurance. Not my problem anymore. Some of my friends and family on my side are proud that I went out in a blaze of glory. Others are telling me I was being too petty, which isn't really like me. So am I the asshole? I mean, you were uninvited from Christmas, so no. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. I would say be glad you did not have children with him. Be glad you can escape and be free with no strings. P.S. This relationship should be a learning lesson on love that you want for yourself and the life you want, not as a loss. OP responds, "First thing I did after I moved into my new apartment was adopt an older car from the shelter." I think they meant cat. "He was allergic, and I could never adopt one since we first started living together. We're just two old hags living our best lives after being rejected." Commenter responds, "You're not old, silly. So glad you're enjoying the company of an older cat. Car is interesting, but not as cuddly. Who appreciates you and will show that far more than soon-to-be ex ever did." OP responds, "Oh, just noticed the typo. Keeping it in because it's actually hilarious. Beep beep." Commenter, "Yeah, not the asshole. He chose his family over you and still expected you to buy all the presents? This was perfectly planned and well-deserved for every one of them, including him." OP responds, "He only worked 12 hours a week at Walmart so he could do non-existent work restarting his business. I make just over 6 figures and I can't believe I didn't realize years ago I was the family ATM." Commenter, "Not the asshole. So thoughtful of them to insist on a prenup. I hope you send them a sincere thank you note after the divorce is finalized. LOL." OP responds, "My lawyer even laughed at the prenup that was set up for him is going to be what we use for me. It required both spouses to maintain separate bank accounts and each spouse could keep 100% of their savings. No spouse eligible for alimony." OP is voted not the asshole. Update, February 6th, 2025, 10 days later. Many thanks to everyone for their support in my last post. I thought I'd send a small update. First, for those who asked how the deposit on my new apartment was only the $600 I saved on the gifts, it certainly wasn't. I had to dip into savings, but that $600 helped. My soon-to-be ex didn't bother reaching out to me after I left until he was served the divorce papers and my lawyer made it clear we're exercising the prenup. Then it was loving voicemails and texts I never picked up from him and his family for a few days trying to convince me to come back, which eventually turned to threatening and cruel voicemails and texts when it was made clear I wasn't budging. My lawyer suggested I don't block them so we have evidence of harassment if needed. Basically, give them the rope to hang themselves with. But then, last night, I got call after call from my soon-to-be ex. Stupidly, I picked it up thinking there was some kind of emergency or something. I barely got hello out when he said, "The rent is a week late." I told him that's strange because I paid my landlord 6 days ago. He paused and sighed dramatically and replied, "No, the rent for here." I reminded him I don't live there and he shouldn't expect rent. Cue his parents both texting me that they're going to sue me to pay the remainder of the lease entirely. I'm not worried about having an eviction on my record since the apartment is in his parents' names. When we first announced we were moving to his hometown, they rented an apartment for us right away so we could move right in. They've been renewing the lease each year. We had to pay his parents, and then they write a check to the landlord, who has no idea who soon-to-be ex and I are, let alone that we lived there. Red flag, I know. I'm glad I had a few weeks to prep my leaving, since they'd probably use the fact that it's their apartment to kick me out immediately. Divorce is probably going to be a bumpy ride with this man-child and his psycho parents. Any advice from anyone who's been through it is welcome. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, do you even have a contract at the place your soon-to-be ex is living? I don't think they have a basis for suing you. LOL. What does your lawyer say? OP responds, lawyer is confident they have no leg to stand on. I haven't signed any type of lease and utilities are in their name too, because they were afraid of having too many names connected to the apartment and the landlord finding out. So they are on the hook for everything that doesn't get paid. But hey, that was their choice and their scheming. Fuck around and find out. Update post 2, February 19th, 13 days later, 23 from the original post. Hi, if this isn't the right place to post updates, please direct me to a subreddit that better fits. Super sorry if I'm annoying members who aren't interested, but a few requested an update. First post. My husband's family uninvited me from Christmas. Husband still left and made me celebrate Christmas alone. I organized shitty gifts as a final bird flip. First update. I moved out, and my underemployed soon-to-be ex and his family still expected me to pay rent on the apartment in my in-laws' names. So the people who commented that my soon-to-be former in-laws were probably charging my soon-to-be ex and me more than the amount on the lease, you called it, and we wouldn't have found out if they weren't so entitled and determined to hurt me. They got a cousin who happens to be a lawyer to send me a letter demanding I pay the entirety of the remainder of the lease, or they will file suit and force me to pay it. Clearly a scare tactic. So my lawyer sent a formal request to their lawyer for a copy of the lease, which I've never seen, and a copy of their written agreement with us as subleasees, which doesn't exist. They sent the lease and insisted the sublease agreement was a verbal contract. Not only is subleasing explicitly prohibited, but my mother-in-law and father-in-law had been charging us an extra $200 each month. So we've notified the landlord that I've been living there with my soon-to-be ex, and the leasees were living in their own house throughout the duration of the lease, and sent copies of my driver's license with the address and over 2 years of bank and credit card statements with the address listed. They were served with a 30-day eviction yesterday, which I know about because mother-in-law left a voicemail about me kicking my soon-to-be ex out of his home and that she now drives with a baseball bat in her car and she'll be keeping an eye out for me. LOL. Obviously, my lawyer's expertise is family law and this was out of his purview, so she referred me to a colleague who focuses on real estate law. We met today to devise a battle plan, and I am now suing my mother-in-law and father-in-law for all the money I can prove I transferred for rent for the entirety of the residency there, since the apartment was technically not a legal apartment to rent since they couldn't sublease. No clean hands to rent to us and then sue me. He's not sure how a judge will buy it, and it's way beyond my state's civil compensation limit, but he's confident that it will scare them and leave them open to settling for just returning the additional $200 from each payment, which I think is fair because I did live there with my soon-to-be ex, so I don't think it's right to get all the rent money back. I'm an adult and adults pay rent, and I don't want them to have the satisfaction of saying I'm using the divorce as a windfall. On the soon-to-be ex front, there's no news there. We will likely need to go to family court for a separation order since he won't agree to the financial details of the separation agreement my lawyer has drafted. My state requires a 1-year separation period before a divorce can be finalized, so this is going to be a long process. A few people asked why he did what he did and if he's offered any kind of explanation or justification. We haven't really talked since he was served. I don't know if he just fell out of love but I was still financially convenient, or if the mask finally lifted, or if it was being so close to his family and them having opportunities to manipulate him. I don't know, and I don't care. I don't need closure. I need them all gone. Looking back, making promises during couples counseling and slowly regressing back is enough closure. Knowing he allowed his family to treat me like crap for so long is closure. That final betrayal at Christmas is closure. My focus isn't on figuring it out, it's on making sure I'm happy. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, keep their calls and text messages as evidence for a protective order. OP responds, absolutely, she's going to regret it because she works for the school district and a restraining order won't let her teach. Commenter, don't forget to investigate suing for return of money invested in his business. It was a premarital asset and exempt from prenup. Worth a shot to see if you can recover some/all of that wasted savings. OP responds, I never thought of this. I'll bring it up when I meet with my lawyer next. Now for the lease agreement. When we first told his family we were moving back to his hometown, his parents went ahead and signed a lease for us to make the move easier. Personally, I think it was to make the move happen sooner and have control over us. They were worried about too many names attached to the apartment, so power, internet, etc. is also in their name. New update, May 14th, 2025, about 3.5 months from the original post. Hi everyone! I posted here a few months ago and everyone was super supportive. Thank you. I thought I'd send through an update and it's actually a positive one. Summary of previous events, that is, the clownery of my life. My ex's family treated me like crap for years. In my naivete, I told myself to just try harder. They uninvited me to Christmas for always ruining the family vibe. My ex decided to celebrate with family because his wife isn't family and left me to celebrate Christmas alone. I decided to return their expensive, thoughtful presents with cheap, crappy ones as a final fuck you, moved out and filed for divorce. Ex can't afford the rent on the old apartment alone. The apartment is actually leased to his parents and they demanded I pay the remainder of the rent or they'll sue. My lawyer and I sue them. Turns out the sublease was illegal. They charged us, really me, since my ex was a deadbeat, $200 extra per month that they pocketed. We notify the real landlord. My ex got an eviction notice. So, I had our first, and it turns out only, mediation meeting with the in-laws about the excess rent they were charging me and my ex a few weeks ago. The in-laws tried to claim they charged us extra for their role as property managers of the apartment. They couldn't explain in any way what they did as property managers to justify a fee of $200 a month other than chatting with their son about the apartment several times a month, i.e. charging us to talk to their own son. When it came to the sublease being a verbal contract since we never signed anything, and my lawyer asked on which date I verbally agreed, I never did actually since my ex handled all of those conversations with his parents prior to our move, they said they couldn't remember, but since I moved in, I obviously agreed to the agreement they made for my ex. My lawyer told them that it sounds like any verbal contract was with their son, and given the terms were oral and unclear, they will be too difficult and costly for them to enforce. He added all of that is a moot point since they didn't have the authority to sublease anyway, and their case wouldn't get more than the 30 seconds it would take for the judge to dismiss it. He then told them that we'd be pursuing the lawsuit unless they settled on returning $6,200, and we'll give them time to discuss the deal with their lawyer. I was suing them for the return of the excesses, not the full rent since I lived in the apartment. Within an hour, their lawyer called mine to agree to a settlement of $5,400 since technically, the little bit my ex paid for rent should have a proportionate amount applied to some of that excess. We agreed to it. My divorce lawyer also sent them a cease and desist letter about the harassment, warning them that if it continues, I will file for a restraining order and I have plenty of evidence to have it granted. A lot of people ask why I haven't done this already, but I'd rather not go nuclear unless I have to. My mother-in-law's job would very likely be affected if she has an RO, and she will just go scorched earth even harder. Thankfully, it seems to have been enough of a wake-up call for her in particular, and the texts, emails, and voicemails have stopped entirely. I also learned from mutual friends that my ex was already on dating apps a few weeks after I left, but apparently nothing goes beyond a first date. I guess women don't want to get involved with a 33-year-old unemployed entrepreneur who lives with and lives off his parents and is still chasing some elusive business he hasn't been able to start up, lol. All communication with him has been through my lawyer except for 2 incidents. A week ago he called me at 3 a.m. completely drunk, leaving a voicemail asking to fix things. He called the next day to apologize for that. I guess this will likely be my final update. Now I just have to wait for the divorce to be finalized and done. There is a huge weight off my shoulders. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, what a great update, congratulations. OP responds, thank you. The past 5 months have been like whiplash, and it's such a relief to finally feel settled. Commenter, yes! Way to go! You deserve every penny back, glad they're backing off. But you warning them about future harassment and then getting a restraining order is awesome just in case. Please update me when it's all over. We want to celebrate with you when it's all over. OP responds, hopefully the next update is, the divorce is final and my mother-in-law died a painful death. Commenter, awesome! Him and his family are garbage and I'm so happy you got out of that. OP responds, I always knew that about his family but stupidly thought he was some magical exception. I've been trying to be kind to myself when I blame myself for not seeing it sooner and leaving earlier. Commenter, how's your lovely cat? Do you hug it? OP responds, she's good, but not happy with me as my vet recommended putting her on a diet. She's been eating my feelings for me. Commenter, if you can, please let us know when the divorce is finalized so we can celebrate for you. Glad the harassment has stopped and that you at least got some of your money back. OP responds, I've lost most of it to lawyers' fees, but even if I ended up with $1, I know it would still piss them off. So I, for the life of me, do not remember if I actually covered this post or if I thought about covering it but just never did, because when it comes to at least the final update, I don't have anything in my records that show that one. And I just figured if I don't have anything in my records for the final update, then I may as well just recover it as a just in case. Honestly, the thing that makes this post extremely realistic is the legal fees. Good God. And that's just for getting divorced. I mean, hell, legal cases outside of that can easily get into the 6 figures without even trying. It can get expensive really goddamn fast. So thankfully OP doesn't sound like they had to spend that much. God knows I had to. Hey everyone, I wanted to give a little bit of an update from yesterday's outro, and mostly a massive thank you to everyone who jumped to support the channel and to kind of help out and bridge the gap that was caused by the whole kind of copyright fiasco. I definitely wasn't expecting that reaction, and I am infinitely grateful for how many of you were willing to help. It means the world to me. While I don't have an exact amount the quote-unquote copyright claimant is looking to take, it's anywhere between $500 to $2,000. I'm happy to report that it's not all of my channel's finances like some of you are concerned about, but it is enough to kind of put some of my finances in a sketchy position. A sketchy position I don't have to worry about thanks to you guys. And while it might take 30 to 90 days before I know what'll happen to that $500 to $2,000 that they're trying to take, I at least don't have to worry about next month. I've also been taking steps to ensure that this problem will not happen again, and if it does, it'll be a lot more easier to manage. So thank you to everyone who joined the memberships, who gave super thanks, to those who even supported by leaving comments, likes, and making sure to watch the entire video. Those help as well. So thank you everyone. It really does mean a lot.